Hello and welcome to the EnSpirit podcast, where we inspire you to develop and enhance your entrepreneurial talents and skills. This series is packed full of information, tips and interviews that help you change and find the edge in your game. I'm your host, Beju Solanki. I'm a performance psychologist and I've been working with entrepreneurs and business owners for the last 25 years, helping them improve their game. To find out more information about me, please look on all social media platforms, but specifically Clubhouse and Instagram. Before we launch this week's episode, I'd love to tell you about the Change Your Game scorecard. If you're struggling to achieve what you really want and you're not sure where to start, the Change Your Game scorecard will help you identify where you need to improve. Life is a game, and there are 3 core games you need to conquer to succeed in life. That's the inner game, your mindset, your emotions, your thoughts. Your game plan, that's your strategy and your roadmap. And then your outer game, how consistent and persistent you are in taking actions. The Change Your Game scorecard will help you identify how strong you are in each of those games. Please visit changeyourgamescorecard.com for more information and get your report today. Thank you for listening. Hello everybody and welcome to Gill. How are you, Gill?
I'm very well, thank you, Beju. A lovely Tuesday afternoon. What better thing to be doing than have a chat with you?
Absolutely, and this would be amazing if people are listening to this on a Tuesday, the synchronicity that we create.
Indeed.
So Gill, I'm really looking forward to our conversation because a lot of people may know of you in terms of your current disguise as the founder of Collaboration Global, a coach, a business coach, etc. But you have you don't have a typical background, but you have a background where a lot of people could relate to. And think, wow, with that background, you can still run your own business and create impact in the world. We met each other through networking as we met many different people. We won't talk about the Cafe Rouge, but maybe we'll see if that comes up in the conversation or the gin bar.
Very relevant, actually. We should really.
We could do. We'll see if it comes up. But the purpose of EnSpirit and what we're looking at is to help entrepreneurs develop their mindsets.
Yeah.
The purpose of these podcasts, the first season, is about getting people to be inspired about people's journeys and to give people an indication that it doesn't really matter the background you're in. You can achieve anything you want. So whether you've come from an academic background, you're selling sweets in the playground, or you've had a silver spoon or poverty, you can achieve what you want. I know of you as a business coach and within the coaching realm, but it didn't start that way. You started in local government, a civil servant.
A civil servant? Yeah, it sounds really weird. I never considered myself a civil servant, but I did work for the housing department. I was an estate manager, and I worked in the East End of London. It was Poplar, Isle of Dogs, Limehouse, all around there, before it was pretty. You know, so we're going back a long way. I'm a very old woman, seriously. And I started there at 16 and I left at 26. So it's 10 years of being told what to do, going to work every day and having an argument.
There's not many 26-year-olds can say I've been in the workplace for 10 years.
No, interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it was then considered, you know, doing A-levels. What? You're crazy. I'm going to go earn some money. Why would I do that? University was not even on the table. Even though I found out about 5 years before my mum died that my junior school teacher said, oh yes, Gillian should definitely go to university. I went, now you tell me. Why didn't I even get to consider it? It was, oh, people like us don't go to university.
So that was the dialogue in your family and friends, that people like us don't do that kind of thing.
People like us don't do a lot of things.
Oh.
It was really, really hard to even imagine breaking out of that mould. Everything was like, oh no, what will the neighbours say? You can't possibly, oh, for goodness sake. I remember getting done up once, this is an aside, but getting done up to go out when I was like 16, 17 years of age, coming down to the kitchen going, ta-da, what do you think? You know, nice dress, makeup, not used to all that kind of thing. My mum's like, who's going to look at you anyway? Okay, that's fine. So it was a real, my mindset now, totally 180 degrees different to how I was brought up. So I had to really struggle to kind of just come out of that. And going back to local government, it was a very sexist environment. It probably still is today. And I was me and my friend Sue, shout out to Sue, how we survived, I don't know, it's us and 35 blokes. And it was tough. And we survived on our wits. And when I say survived, literally sometimes I had tenants that pulled knives on me. I've had to break into buildings. I've had to take people to court and literally be at their eviction when we're kicking them out. It was a real university of life. absolutely difficult things. People were regularly going down to be disinfested because you'd be in an apartment or a flat and you'd look down and you could see the carpet moving because there were so many fleas and things around. It was
Wow.
really rough. It was the East End at its worst. And yet they were some lovely, lovely people.
So during that time, you probably built a lot of resilience, quite a thick skin in terms of dealing with different kinds of people.
My go-to resource was my sarcasm. I got out of a lot with sarcasm because people, you could almost see them. If somebody said something to me and I went back, everyone was like, "Oh, you're upset now." And that's the beginning of me, everyone kind of going, "Well, don't argue with Jill," because I could cut them down to size because I was short and I'm working in a room. I mean, one guy was like 6'8", so I'm in a room of people that are larger than me in every aspect, their personalities, the way they live, and I had to use something, and that was my go-to. Sarcasm would cut people down in an instant, and I'd get rounds of applause because it was like, yeah, did it, shut that one up.
And that's never left you.
I have lost it, seriously.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I used to be awful. And I made people cry, seriously. I went, just a quick story, I went to a pub once with a guy and my friend, and he was telling us this awful sob story about how he'd had a car crash and his brother had died and his dad didn't like him and his mum didn't, and that's why he lost all his hair and that's why he was bald. And I said, oh, he said, it's hereditary, it happened really quickly. I said, was your mum bald as well then? And everyone, where did it come from? It was mean, and I'm not a mean person, but it was survival. It was the survival of the fittest, and you had to get in first, otherwise you'd be chopped up. It was 10 years of hard life, and then I got pregnant. Yay! So I went, I'm off. I'm back. I'm gone.
So you went on maternity leave?
Yeah.
Arjun, we'll just pause in here a minute. Just take a break. There's something clicking on your. Every time I don't know whether it's relating to the laptop. I think it's related to the laptop. Whether it's the connection. Oh, there. What was that? When you just what did you move?
The wires.
Yeah, there. I think
I'm moving the wires. Okay.
Yeah, don't move the wire somehow because it's clicking.
Okay,
yeah, there. That keeps them really, or whatever that is.
Okay.
If that can be taped or stilled or something. Is that what?
I don't know. There's a few wires going on here. All out. Is that?
But you're gonna move it. Whatever it's got worse now. So whatever you moved, put it outside. But can you put it on your desk or both wires connection? I think what it is, the headphone that you would listen to me.
Any better now?
Yeah, if you can not move as much, that'd be great. Okay, Origin, we're back. I'm gonna clap. So you left that job because you became pregnant, so you went on maternity leave.
Yeah, and they begged me to go back, and actually it was like, you can work from home, it's fine, just come back. No, I'm not coming back. That was having gone from the GLC to Brentwood District Council to East Herts District Council, so it was kind of semi-retirement already compared to Limehouse and the Isle of Dogs. But there's no way was I going to go back.
So just out of interest, during that time, did you have any indication of whether you ever wanted to do your own business, start a business, do your own thing, or was that even in the thought process then?
I was entrenched in it. I was supporting my husband because at that point he was starting up his own business, and it was like that was the thing. And I didn't have the confidence, to be honest with you. I really didn't see that I was any good at anything. What I'd look back on now and see is that I was discovering what I didn't like, and I didn't like having to be at a certain place and staying at a certain place and leaving when somebody else told me to go to a certain place and leave. So the job that I managed to get hold of was like, well, you have to be there for 8:30 in the morning, but at 10 o'clock you go on the estate and you do your work, so nobody knows where you are and what you're doing. So I got the job done in my own sweet way, but without the hierarchy of you should be doing this and should be doing that. So the fact that you had to stay until 5 o'clock just didn't work with me. So already I was kind of realizing I wanted freedom. I didn't want to be told what to do. I'm good enough. You don't have to tell me. Just let me get on with the blooming job and stop trying to force me into what you think I should be doing, because I was good at what I did. I got promotion in a job I hated. I was promoted, and I wasn't happy. I like working with people. So that's what I worked out as well.
If you didn't fall pregnant at that time, do you reckon you would have left?
I would have had to summon up my courage to leave, because in my world, you didn't leave a good job. unless something better came along. And that's one of the things I worry about with entrepreneurs is a lot of people go, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to take the leap and I'm going to be an entrepreneur and run my own business. No, don't straight away, build it up, see you've got a balance, then ditch the job, because that's sensible. And then you can whoosh and you've got a grounding then. When you just kind of take the leap because I'm going to do it, it worries me that some people then get disappointed because it's bloody hard. It is hard work. It's not difficult. It's just there's a lot of it when you're starting out and you're on your own. And unless you're absolutely loving it every single day, even the stuff, I had to start at the beginning going, I don't know what spreadsheet is. I don't know about finance. I've got to learn all these things. And I knew that I had to learn them before I could delegate them to somebody else. So it's hard.
It is hard. But you didn't go straight into business. You had your daughter. I know you got two daughters. Did you have your daughters sort of quite close to each other?
2 years. There's 2 years between them. So okay. I was learning about me then, really. So having a child is probably, if you remember back to when Sapna was born, it's the best thing in the world. It's like, wow, how clever am I? I mean, talk about confidence boost. It's like, well, if I can do that, I can do anything. And that's kind of how I've lived my life now, is that I'm living it so that they can see me do it and they can go, well, if mum can do it, flipping heck, so can I. So they are my inspiration now. They're my reason, my why, my reason to get out of bed, because I want to leave a legacy, sure. I want to make a difference in the world, sure, but I'm doing it for them and their generation too.
So your husband, Alan, started the business while the daughters were young?
Yes. He'd actually started his first business with another business partner when I was still working, because the idea was my salary covered all of our expenses, so he could go off and do that and try. And if he failed, we'd still pay the mortgage. That's fine. So I was then committed into that space of I have to go to work while he gets sorted. And then we had a bit of a hiccup where the guy that he was a business partner of disappeared. Literally overnight, went off to the Philippines. Apparently, we never saw sight nor sound of him again, apart from the £35,000 worth of debt he left us. Which was quite nice. But we decided to stay and start again, new company, and we paid off every single penny that we owed, because that's the way we were. We didn't want to go bankrupt, and we did it. So he was working, and then I fell pregnant, which was like, because we haven't quite got the business going. So while I was on maternity leave, it was prospecting, it was marketing, it was literally door-to-door leaflets and all that kind of thing, to do debt chasing, whatever we could do. He used to sell telex machines. Remember those things?
Wow.
So by the time I was due to go back, I was like, please don't make me go back. I really don't want to go back. And he said, no, I think we can just about manage. So he'd got the income up to a certain level that I didn't have to go back. So then I just ploughed in with him, and we just built and built and built. But at the same time, I was still like, I'm not fired up by stationery. It doesn't light my fire.
And that was a business selling stationery and
at that point, yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of looked around like, what else is there? And by that time, the kids were at school, and I'd done the wonderful mummy stuff of having those 4 or 5 years at home with them, doing exactly what we wanted, being silly buggers, going off at the drop of a hat. It was the best thing I ever did. But then when they were at school, I'm like, okay, my turn now. What do I do? And I always wanted to get that degree. So I was like, well, what sort of degree do I go? Oh, I don't know. So I did some BTEC courses and things, but it's like, what do I want to do? And then I met a lady who was my eldest daughter's first year teacher, and I was inspired by her, Caroline Petherbridge. What she doesn't do, she's amazing. She's a drama teacher. She was their form teacher. She does publishing. She does graphic design, everything. She writes books. She's amazing. And I was like, I want to be like her. I can do that. So she helped me. And it was because of her that I went to do the degree. It was a part-time degree that should have taken me 5 years. And I did it in 2.5, just over 2.5, kind of lost 2 Christmases along the way. And then I went off and qualified to be a teacher with a local school that was stunning. We met amazing people, got inspired by amazing teachers. We were allowed to do anything we wanted. The head teacher was amazing, and I absolutely loved it. But I did all my training there, but I wasn't allowed to stay, because you don't stay at the school you qualify in, you have to go somewhere else. So I went somewhere else, and that was a different world. The energy was wrong. Now I can look back and go, oh, it was the energy that was wrong. But at the time, I just couldn't put my finger on it. It doesn't feel right. And the kids were struggling, and I wanted to take all of them home. Oh, you poor little thing, come home. They don't let you do that. It's just not on. So I said, right, I'll have a term off and I'll get strong, and I'll go back and I'll do a good job. Because I knew, leave me with the kids and I'm fine. It's all the policies and the red tape and the curriculum and that was what I was struggling with. So that's when I had that time away, and my husband went, well, you might as well come back and work for me.
And what age group were you teaching?
What age group? I did reception, which was cool, and I did year 4 and 5. So that's 8, 9-year-olds. But I was always in trouble, Beju. They seriously, I was. You can't do that. Well, watch me. You'll get in trouble and watch me. You'll get me taken to court. I don't think so. Just for giving somebody a cuddle, it's not sexual abuse. I'm being kind to this little 5-year-old kid that's just started 2 days ago. It was a bizarre world that we were in. But anyway, starting work, it felt like I'd lost my purpose because I was now in a transactional space and my skills weren't being transferred until we had a business coach that was helping us, and he realised that I was going off helping other people. And he said, you're not going to get paid for that. I was like,
so you left teaching to work with your husband in the stationery business?
No, I left teaching because I couldn't cope and I was having a break. And while I was having a break, I realised that I could work for him.
I see. Work
So
with
I
him,
did,
not for him.
Thank you. Yes, with him.
Right.
And during that transition, which was probably only the space of a year, we worked really well together. Don't get me wrong. We worked out. He's good at that. I'm good at that. I'll do this and he'll do that. And it was perfect. But when I was told that I should really be a business coach, that was like, oh, that's the jigsaw piece that was missing.
Stepping back, what made you get a business coach for your own business? What was that first? So before,
yeah.
What happened?
Well, I'd seen him spend 5 years sort of doing the same old, and as I'm in it now, I was in it. I could look around and go, so why do you do that? And then the filing cabinet's all the way over there, but your desk is all the way over there. So silly little things were like, why didn't? And I was constantly kind of, let's change this and let's do that. And if we're going to get 1,000 more clients, and he's like, whoa, I'm just happy surviving. So although we were on the same track, we clashed because I wanted to go at 1,000,000 miles an hour. World domination. And he's like, no, this is fine. We're good. We're okay. I know what I'm doing here. So I said, let's get a business coach in and see where we can tweak it. Now my mindset was, I'll get him on side and then he'll make Alan do what I want him to do. So it's like, let's do this, But in reality, he spotted quite quickly that I needed more, and one business wasn't going to be enough for me. And in hindsight, I mean, we're now kind of running 4 businesses or 5 businesses. As a result of me stepping out and getting confident on my own. And it was really hard. And in fact, I got my first gig training people in networking before my first paid gig, before I'd even got my first business card done. No website, no business card. And this woman, I went to a networking event, Women in Business Network, and she said, look, do you want the job or not? Have your lunch, have a think about it and let me know after lunch. I'm like, okay. And I'm sitting there eating going, well, I need this and I need that, but why can't I say yes? But then you go to, but why can't I say yes? And it was like, okay. And I think I spent the next year of my first year in business saying yes to everything.
So working with your husband, having this business coach showed you different perspectives of the business.
Yeah.
As a result of that, there was a lot of things that you could relate to. Actually, I'm helping through my own conversations and helping other people. Knowing that you can help someone and actually turn into the business is 2 very different things. How did you make that transition from just helping people through conversations, through networking events and going to events to say, actually, I'm going to position myself as this business coach and start my own business?
Well, hopefully, like a lot of people in that position, you think to yourself, you know nothing, and you've got the old imposter syndrome sitting on your shoulder. So I went out and learned. I devoured books. I went on courses. I spent a fortune to understand what it means to be in business, what it means to be a business coach, what it means, the difference between a coach and a consultant and a mentor, how to do it. And I was sat on one course. I paid about 10 grand for a year on this course. And I was like, this has got to work, it's got to work. And I sat there listening to this woman who was telling us stuff. And I felt like saying, do you want to come and sit here and let me take the class? Because obviously I do seem to know more than you do, because you haven't actually run a business. I never said that to her, but I really wanted to. It was like, then all of a sudden that penny dropped for me. Actually, Jill, you do know more than you give yourself credit for. Just start getting on with it. Start doing it. And Andy Sleet actually said, this guy that was our coach, he said, you only need to be 15 minutes ahead of the next person. He said, if you've got a client and you're not sure, you need to be 15 minutes ahead of them. Just go and find out more. You have to work hard and you have to research. And because as time goes on, that's 2007 I started that. I don't know about you, but I still read constantly. New books come out, and we would, know an awful lot more than the average person out there, because it's our lifeblood, really.
In starting that and growing your own business, what would you say has been your biggest challenges?
Cash flow. We've never had an overdraft. We've never had investors. We've never owed money. It's kind of just a personal thing. I don't know if anyone else has been in the East End of London, but that's how I grew up. Never borrow or lend a B. So my mum and dad never had HP. We never rented a TV or anything. It was always, you save up for it and then you get it. So it was so ingrained that I didn't do that. So cash flow was always you robbing Peter to pay Paul. So we started off doing the free stuff first, what you didn't need to pay for. And then bit by bit it grew. So in the early days, cash flow is a big problem. So if you've got some money behind you, use it wisely, and don't scattergun. Have your focus, making sure you are focused, because my personality is, I want this, that looks good. And because I love learning, I could have gone on a million different courses, and I had to really rein it in and just go, right, what do I need now? I'll go on that course, I'll learn what I need, and then I'll put it into practice. Or I'll buy a book, or, didn't have Kindle then. So yeah, cash flow was a big problem. Focus was a big problem. And the imposter syndrome. I look back now and I knew a lot more to a lot of people, but because they might have been older than me. So what was I, in my late 30s, early 40s? I thought they knew more. And because of the experience that I'd had, because of experience in teaching, you understand how people learn. Because of experience in local government, you understand how to talk to people and help them to listen to what you're having to say. So I had an awful lot of transferable skills out of the whole, previous life expectancy. I was able to kind of harness those without even knowing it. And once you kind of have it pointed out to you, you do know you're good at that. You do know you're good at that. I remember once on a KPI course, funny enough, I overheard somebody say, oh yeah, if you want to get connected to someone or anyone, you need to talk to Gill. She's a great connector. She knows a lot of people. I'm like, am I? Oh, I'd never thought about that of myself. But then I thought about it seriously. I mean, actually, I do know quite a few people.
So that's quite interesting, because there'll be a lot of people listening to this who may be in a position whereby, maybe because a result of recent events, because of the pandemic and COVID, thinking they're in this certain situation and they've been forced, or they've got an opportunity to do something different, whether it's starting their own business or a new job. And we forget the skills we've acquired in a certain domain that can be transferable, because we think, new environment, I've got to learn more. And it's not always the case.
Not at all. Even when I look back to just being a mum, flipping it, it's the hardest job on the planet. But, are you having to multitask? I mean, there are so many things, organizational skills, there are so many things that you can pick out from that are going to be required in business. But whatever you've done in your life, if you've got a yearning to be in business, not just any business, a business that follows your passion, then you have got skills that you've acquired because of that passion. And they're going to stand you in good stead. That already you're standing on that mountain of value without even realizing it. So I think it's a really good point, is to get to know who you are and get to know what your value is and get to know what value you can give to other people.
During your journey, were there periods of doubt?
Always.
Self-doubt?
Yesterday? No. Yeah, absolutely. You're not human if you don't have doubt. It is a roller coaster. Some days you're on a high, you've got a new client, you think it's fantastic. And then, 2 weeks later, somebody says, oh, I don't want to work with you anymore. You're like, why? I thought we were getting on so well. It's not always self-doubt. But ultimately, if you know and you can see, after a while, you have endless stories of success. I worked with a lady who was starting her job from her back bedroom that her husband called a nice hobby. And by the time we'd finished, she had premises, she was working on her second business. And eventually, sometime about 2 years later, I contacted her and she said, yeah, he's working for me now. So the husband that said, you've got a nice hobby, I've got the real job in this house. She developed it into, to me, when she said, oh, I'm going to go and work for somebody else now, I was a bit sad for sure. And I was a bit like, oh, what did I do wrong? now I wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, fantastic. I don't want people to work with me for more than 9 months. They need that break. They need to go and see things from a different perspective, because otherwise we just become really chummy and they're going to go, oh, Jill, whatever you say, I'll do that. You don't want that relationship. That's not what a coach is about.
So when you realize actually I could, and I love coaching and helping other people, and you started your coaching business, did you realize that, oh, this is the real thing I really want to do? You taught before, you worked in local government, you worked with your husband and his business. Did you finally felt that, oh, I found myself?
I mentioned it all the time when I first started. I'm a square peg in a square hole. It was just perfect, and there was nothing else to do. So even on my worst day, I would say to myself, so come on then, give this up. What are you going to do now? Nothing else is out there, because I love it so much. So make it work, Jill. Get off your ass and go and make it work, because there isn't anything else. There is no plan B. That's what I have to do. It's part of who I am now.
What would you say to people who are listening, just thinking, I have a plan, or I've got an A thing I want to do, but they're just fearful of making mistakes. They're fearful of getting it wrong. They're fearful of, God, this is what I really want to do, but if I try and it doesn't work out, where do I go?
Fearful of making mistakes and fearful of getting it wrong. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to get it wrong. So you've got to get over that. It's going to happen. And some of them are going to cost you a bit of money. And some of them are going to cost you maybe a friend or two. But you have to follow your heart. And I think there is always start over. And just do it sensibly. Don't rush into things. Plan things. Get someone on side. And I think get a support network, and not just people like your mum who's going to say, oh, good luck, hope it goes well, lovely. Your mum's always going to be on your side. Get really people that you admire, who inspire you, that are really gunning for you to make it work. And then on the dark days, you pick the phone up and go, I can't do this anymore. And they will be there going, of course you can. What about this? What about that? What about, you've done it? And they remind you of all the successes you've had that you conveniently forget, because we always do. Always looking forward. I meant to do that and I didn't hit my deadline. I didn't get it done in time. I was going to do that and I'm supposed to be at this point in my life now. And forget where you're supposed to be. Look at where you are and look at how far you've come.
What would you say to someone? What are the common mistakes you find people make when they're starting a business, whatever domain of their business? And we're in a situation now where I will suspect that through redundancies and through different opportunities that people are thinking, yes, there's going to be a lot of heartache and a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, but within that, there's going to be a lot of people thinking, opportunity. But what are the common mistakes that you find that people make?
Believing their own PR. I think managing the money is the big thing. Get on top of that and understand what your relationship is with money, because if that is hurting you in any way, when you lose it or if you go out and spend it too readily, understand what your personal relationship is with money. Connect to yourself and understand what you really want. Understand what your purpose is, what your why is, to really get solid on that. But I think the biggest thing is trying to do it alone. And I've been there trying to do bits and pieces alone. And it's this ever decreasing circle that goes down and down. You need a support network. You need a series of people that are there for you for the right things. So you've had a brilliant day. Who do you turn to celebrate? You've had a rubbish day. Who do you go to commiserate? You've had a day where you've overwhelmed and there's just too much to do. So who's going to get you sorted and who's going to get you organized again and kind of, I can do this. Who's going to motivate you to get it done? And having those kind of go-to people that you've even had conversations with saying, look, I'm doing this. I'm really proud of what I'm doing. I really want to do this, but will you be there for me when? Then you really know that they're at the end of a phone, end of an email, or you can just turn up and have a cup of tea. It is because in the business world, and you and I have both done it a million times, you go into a networking environment and you so you're like, this is really exhausted. Okay. Hi, everything's fine. Everything's great. And you can almost feel those people that are trying so hard and it's not real. And you kind of need to be in a space where you can be real and you can say, I've had a shit day. You can say, it's really tough and I don't know where to go. And that's what, if you can afford it, get a coach, definitely. If you can afford it, maybe get that mentor that you look up to and you can turn to. But you don't want to be paying everyone for all of this stuff. You've already got people in your community that can support you in this. But try and look. You are one of the 5 that you associate with. So try and look for 4 other people that are bloody brilliant, that are going to really support you and help you and be there for you and be your cheerleaders and just carry you through the tough times. And you will do the same for them.
I think we both come from a similar mindset that the network is your net worth, and the bigger your network and the bigger you give, more you give value to your network, the better. And that's why I'm so proud of the people I'm getting on the podcast and their stories, because without that network, this wouldn't have happened. And we can communicate to our learnings to others. Looking at your own whole journey, apart from your 2 daughters and your marriage, what are you most proud of?
Well, I could say my books that I've published, because from the age of 8, I always wanted to be a published author. So I'm very proud of those. I'm very proud of the ISO that we acquired, the international standard for working collaborative relationships. That was really hard, but I did it. But really, that all of that pales into insignificance. What I'm really proud of is the community that we've created. The people around me that have created the community Collaboration.Global, because yesterday we had the most amazing meeting, and I just came away from that going, wow, beautiful, kind, caring, intelligent, clever, inspiring people that come together with the pure purpose of how can I help. It's like a breath of fresh air. So if that's all I ever do in my life, is create Collaboration.Global, and it continues without me when I'm gone, I cannot be more proud. But even if it disappears, I cannot be more proud than I am today of the community that is there.
I want to talk about Collaboration.Global in a moment, but just to really, what would you say your nuanced difference is between networking and collaborating? Or partnerships, what is collaboration?
Yeah, the rawest sense, though networking, partnerships is transactional. Collaborating is at a higher consciousness. It's a higher level of being. So true collaboration comes from a place of love, connection, and abundance. So it's a different mindset, a different way of acting. So when you've got 2 or 3 people that come together, they're creating something that inevitably creates something that they weren't expecting, that they can utilize to pay it forward into the next project, into the next community, for the benefit of other people. So it's like a coming together, not in a spiritual sense, but it can almost be like that. But it's a case of they come together and they get each other. They share values. They align themselves. They get excited by seeing each other. They get excited by the project. They achieve more with the same kind of people as themselves. There's no ego in the room. There's no holding back. And they make mistakes and they forgive each other. They acknowledge each other. They're grateful for each other. And what comes out of those kind of collaborations is 100 times better than if 2 or 3 people had said, well, let's have a partnership, and this is the contract, and this is what I expect to earn out of it, and what's the outcome, what other outcome do you want? Okay, yeah, you're going to get that much. And that to me is exhausting when you hear that kind of language, where when you get a collaborative group together who have they're coming together because of their passion, it's a different conversation, and it's so refreshing to be around those people with that kind of energy, that it just lifts you up, even if you're not part of the project, when you're listening to what's going on. And I've heard so many people that have started projects and you're like, oh, that sounds amazing, and you just...
For that to happen, I'm assuming that egos have to be left at the door. People have got to go in with a very different mindset to thinking, what can I get from this arrangement?
Yeah. Because I think when an ego comes in, there's very much, okay, what I say goes, because I know that I'm right and you're probably wrong, so you should listen to me. Well, that doesn't allow for creativity. That doesn't allow for making a mistake. That doesn't allow for trying stuff and possibly failing, but learning along the way. So it's a generosity of spirit when people come together that, you might know more than me, but you're going to give me the respect of listening to an idea I've had, because actually it might be something you haven't thought about. So we have to leave the ego at the door. It's just that energy is just negative, and it just shuts people down.
We're in this experiencing the pandemic, the COVID, everybody's experienced that with the unique situation we're in. This period, what is it giving you?
I love it. I know I shouldn't say that, should I? I absolutely love it. So for personal learning, I always thought I had to be going out, seeing people, doing that. That was Gill. She needs to be around people. That's her lifeblood. She got to talk to people. She doesn't stop talking. She talks to anyone, talks to strangers. I've been home alone, and I never thought that I would be content, and I am. And it's weird. I've got no idea why. It's just, so for me personally, I've seen a new side to myself that I never knew existed. For me in business, I love the fact that what I tried to do a year ago wasn't possible. Hey guys, let's have a meeting online. And maybe 8 people turned up. And now we get 35 on average turning up. Because last year I was like, oh no, I prefer meeting in person. And I like going to the pub afterwards. And it's not going to be the same online. I'm not really interested in online. Now we have to meet online. All of a sudden it's like, oh, actually, this is quite good because I don't have to jump on a train. I don't have to spend money getting into London. I don't have to spend ridiculous prices on having a glass of wine after the event. You can have a glass of wine while you talk. You know, it's a different world that people are now embracing. So to me, it's good for the planet, but it's good for, I don't have to book a venue. I don't have to schlep a load of stuff into London. So practical reasons, it's been brilliant. But also, we now have international members. So it's like I'm truly global. It's not about having to meet face to face. We're building just a stronger relationship with people around the world. And I love that because we're all connected.
What? But you do love meeting people. So do you see it? Do you see a situation of a blended world? Do you see it saying, okay, this is good for what it is now, but we'll go back to meeting physically? What's your?
Yes and no. I would love to see a space where we have maybe 1 or 2 meetings a year. There'll be a day or 2 days where everyone can come together. But if you're going to come to London, make that a long weekend where you don't make a double trip. Don't just come for the Collaboration Global event. Make sure your carbon footprint is responsible. But then for all those that can't make it, live streaming is now accessible and people are used to sitting there watching it. So if they can't make it, so I think it's all going to be hybrid meetings and sessions from now on. I don't think it will be just one or the other. So yeah, and even I think now because of the community style and feel of what we've got going, to say I'm in Hyde Park on Tuesday, hey guys, you want to come for a picnic? And anyone that's in the area, providing it's suitable for them, it won't be quite such a formal third Thursday of the month we're going to meet at blah blah blah. I think it's going to be a lot more fun, a lot more organic.
You mentioned Collaboration Global a few times. How did you get from being a business coach, doing one-to-one, a few workshops, a bit of speaking gigs, to creating this community?
I think it's being open to listening to what other people have to say. So I met Erkan Ali back in 2012-13, and we just started a conversation. And he wouldn't let it go, and it happened again and again and again. And we had lunch and we had coffee and we had met again. And the hero with the flip chart had all this kind of anger about the world that was wrong, and I kind of knew it, but I didn't have it right in my face. And having been in education, when he was telling me what was wrong with education, I didn't agree with all of it, but I saw that actually the bit that I left for, the policy and all of that, he was damn right. So it began with us kind of coming together, and you were part of that beginning journey as well, understanding that a way forward is collaboration. And we literally just got a few people together and had a conversation, and people going, how can we join? We're like, well, we haven't got anything yet, but we should join. I would love to join. Let's get more of this. So it was the conversation that started from a place of the world is broken. What can we do about it? And I think the philosophy was, if you start at the top and change the world down, then the people at the top have got no vested interest in changing anything because they're okay, thank you very much. But the people at the bottom have got every reason to try and transform the way we see our world. So by meeting together, we can practice what true collaboration looks like. The paradigm that we're living in that's currently fear, scarcity and competition, well, what would it look like and how would that be if we were going to be in love, connection, abundance? So we're trying it out and it's working and it's fitting. So Be Collaboration was the baby that started. But as time went on, the pair of us were kind of going like that, because he was very much wanting to wake everybody up about the dangers that were going on. And I was very much, let's just practice the way it should be and the way we think it will be a better world. So he's gone off to do various other things, and I decided to stay. And we just said to the community, hey guys, this is what's going on, what do you want to do? And Collaboration.Global was born in January. So I really haven't been around for very long as kind of the leader of the community, but I'm not the leader of the community, if you see what I mean. I look after it. I've labelled myself a community catalyst, so I kind of set the world on fire, like the touch paper. But the community definitely are involved in how it runs and how we do it.
Do you think business will look different as a result of this period, and what role do you think collaboration has in that?
Well, yes, is the answer. The world will have to look different. If we go back to where it was and we start polluting the seas and the air and, you know, forestation and all those kind of things, we have to kind of, I think now is the time. We've had the Me Too movement, we have the Black Lives Matter movement, we are ripe for living our lives in a different way. And I think people are cottoning on at last that we don't have to buy stuff in order to be happy. And collaboration is part of that. So what perfect example of collaboration is when all the care workers in the NHS just, you know, came together to support everyone in hospitals and everyone that was ill. It was just the glue that holds our country together, collaborated like no other. It was the perfect example. And I don't know about you, but I never felt more proud than when I stood on the doorstep clapping to say thank you to the NHS and all of those people. Just literally held it together, all delivery workers, everyone. So we know that when we need to, we can collaborate. And that was selflessly giving. So many people put their lives at risk. So many people did extra shifts. So many people volunteered. It's unbelievable because they felt the cause was a great cause. How about if your whole life was lived like that? That's where collaboration comes in.
I can relate to that, because when it's amazing. We sometimes come into business think as well, this is what I want and how can I get what I want? And very, very quickly, whether you're selling a widget or whether you're providing a service, you realize, well, actually, if I can understand what people's problems are, how I can add value to their lives, invariably you get what you want. But it takes patience and it takes time.
Yeah, it's the old karma thing, isn't it?
So you mentioned about collaboration and the group and the entity being there when you are long gone. Is that your legacy?
Yeah, probably. It's interesting, isn't it? You get to a certain stage and you start thinking about legacy. And I think I've always said that if what I am doing helps one person, my job is done. You know, that's why I'm here and that's what I'm about. But if I can help more and more and more, and those people then take that culture and start helping other people. We always talk about we don't have IP at Collaboration.Global. It's like, you know, if you use my stuff, great, take it, use it, share it, just credit people. Well, tell them where you got it from. So yeah, hopefully as the years go on and possibly my role is, you know, I will fade into the background. You know, hopefully people will look back and go, oh yeah, who's that person that started Collaboration.Global again? I'd like it to be as common as, you know, the corner shop kind of thing, where there are communities and groups all over the place, just practicing and trying out different way of living and connecting, and through love, connection and abundance, and understanding that collaboration has impact. For one person, you have to connect to yourself and your relationships. Imagine doing a Christmas Day dinner without collaborating. And how much smoother it would be if you collaborated from a place of abundance rather than who's going to do the Brussels sprouts thing? You know, Christmas is very stressful, but if you come into a space of true collaboration, it's a piece of cake. Seriously, that's no overstatement.
No, and I get that. And I think if you look at whatever industry you're looking at, is when you create partnerships, collaboration, when ego's left at the door and it's about how you can serve, magic happens. Like you demonstrated here with the COVID situation, you've got Formula One teams building, you know, equipment for hospitals just because the engineers there knew the science and they just pivoted their knowledge to a different project. So it works really well. Jill, it's been fascinating talking to you. I loved your story from being local government, dealing with people in Tower Hamlets, through to starting your own business, growing your business, and through to the collaboration project and that. And I'm
if I can do it, Beige, anyone can do it, mate.
That's what we all say. So if people want to know more about you and what you do, how can they find out more information?
Just check out collaborationglobal.org, and all the details are on there. If you want to email me personally, Jill@collaborationglobal.org.
Perfect, great. And all those links and bits and pieces will be next to this podcast, so please do check them out. So thank you so much, Jill. I wish you well in all you do, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Bless you. Thank you, darling.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for listening. To find out more about myself or the Change Your Game Scorecard, you can visit changeyourgamescorecard.com, where you can find out how strong your game is and get a full detailed report. Also, if you found this episode useful, please do leave a rating or a review in iTunes to help others discover it too. Until the next time, my name is Beju Slanky.